because the capacity, tilapia is very prolific. They can reproduce a lot of fingerlings, so it's very, very easy to get their fingerlings. So now
the president of the Fish Farmers Association in the Central River region expressed gratitude to the FAO office, stating that the UN body has been supportive of the fishing community in the area since inception. He also appealed on behalf of the association for more assistance from the FAO in order to maintain the fish ponds.
We are happy that FAO is now putting their hand through to the farmers, because they have brought a new office here, which you know that is willingly to help the women, men, and feeding also, like food affairs. So we are fully happy for that office also.
The fish ponds are maintained by the fish farmers, and they produce different fish species, which after harvesting are sold in the market.
I'm really, really impressed. The thing that makes me the happiest is to see that the communities themselves are managing these ponds and are managing to get something from the ponds, and are able to sustain it even after the end of foreign intervention. You know, after the intervention of FAO, after the intervention of the Taiwanese, the communities themselves have taken it upon themselves. They have the capacity, the skill, the willingness, and the commitment to do it all. Working together with the Fisheries Department, as I said earlier, on mapping out the specific interventions that FAO and the Ministry of Fisheries will be collaborating on. Certainly, you know, we will look at all the different requests, and together, you know, we FAO do not make the decisions independently, but together, depending on what the ministry tells us is the priority, we will make sure that we look at our resources and see what we can do, but also, more importantly, is to speak to other stakeholders who may be interested in supporting the sector to come together to do all that needs to be done.
Hopes are high that with the intervention of the Food and Agricultural Organization, these fish ponds will be in a better shape and provide the farming community with a viable means of earning better living standards. Uminjai, GRTS.
It has been a very busy period for delegates at the week-long statutory meetings of the West African monetary institutions, but that has not stopped officials from attending to critical issues on the sidelines of the convergence. As Mondu Bajan reports, a separate conclave was convened by the Committee of ECOWAS Central Banks.
Statutory meetings of West African monetary institutions. The day was partly set aside for the 30th meeting of the Committee of Governors of Central Banks of West African Monetary Zone. In his address to the gathering, the Governor of Central Bank of the Gambia, Amadou Koli, described the meeting as a worthy cause in their strive to set up a single currency.
I wish to welcome you to the 30th meeting of the Committee of Governors of the West African Monetary Zone, hosted in the Gambia. Let me also seize this opportunity to thank the management and staff of the West African Monetary Institute, WAMI, for their tireless efforts in the effective implementation of the WAM's agenda, which is an integral part of the ECOWAS single currency program. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, your presence here today is a clear manifestation of the region's unwavering commitment to the regional integration agenda and the goal of establishing a durable monetary union.
For his part, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, who serves as Chairman of West African Monetary Zone's Committee of Governors, Dr. Henry A.K. Wampa, recalled the commitment of the member states to the aim of achieving a single currency, adding among several things that progress has been registered.
It was in the city of Banjul that member countries made a declaration in May 2005, committing ourselves to monetary union within the WAM's member states by December 2009. Since then, the Banjul Declaration, as it was then called, has been succeeded by the Abuja Action Plan of 2009, which also set January 2015 as the commencement date for monetary union within the zone. As we approach the deadline, we need to reassess the status of the project.
The actualization of a single currency in the West African sub-region is by far not among those things achievable by lip service. As such, Koli, the host governor, spoke of several requirements which require redress regarding the attainment of a single currency.
As we progress in our economic integration process, it is quite important that we harmonize the macro-institutional environment and monetary policy frameworks of our countries. This requires the implementation of the roadmap. The macro-institutional factors under the roadmap include the legal framework and issues relating to the depth of the financial sector. Harmonization of legal frameworks requires strong political support, a timetable that is realistic, and also it should be consistent with the plans of the central bank.
It appeared that almost every aspect of the gathering is more or less about checks and balances for an effective single currency. The Director General of West African Monetary Institute, Dr. Abuaku Englama, also delved into recent developments of the monetary zone.
Macroeconomic developments and convergence. Mr. Chairman, during 2013, global economic growth remained subdued, averaging 2.6%, a significant deceleration from 3.2% recorded in 2012. The sluggish output growth highlights the persistence of new policy challenges for the advanced as well as the emerging and developing economies. Notwithstanding the slowdown in general economic activities, the pace of growth in the WAMs continued to be strong at 6.7% in this review period.
The conclave has in effect elected the Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia as new chair of the West African Monetary Zone's Committee of Governors, replacing the outgoing chairman, Ghanaian Dr. Henry A.K. Wampa. By the elapse of these and other conclaves of the various monetary institutions of the sub-region, many finance and economic experts are of the view that ECOWAS bloc's long-awaited ambition of a vibrant single currency will be realized. Modu Bajan, GRTS News.
We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Welcome back. Rwanda has marked the 20th anniversary of the genocide that killed 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus. Commemorations began with memorial services and a conference on how to prevent such heinous crimes and bring perpetrators to book. Memories of the 1994 genocide are still fresh in the East African country where the mainly Tutsi-dominated government holds sway over the majority Hutu. CFI has the details.
Rwanda genocide. Repeating the phrase "never again" is in itself a sign of continued failure.
The former commander of the UN peacekeeping forces in Rwanda, General Dallaire, spoke at a United Nations session devoted to understanding mass atrocities. In 1994, Romeo Dallaire was in charge of UN peacekeepers in Rwanda. He alerted the United Nations to the imminent risk of mass murders 3 months before the killings began. His warnings were ignored, and UN blue helmets struggled and largely failed to protect the population.
Where do you cut the line of saying that it's not your problem? What criteria are you using to say that it's not your problem?
20 years on, it is still difficult for survivors to come to terms with their experiences, despite a special international tribunal to bring the killers to justice.
And the crime is too big to punish. It's too big to prosecute. Why wouldn't other places like Sudan or Mali, why would